You're watching the Real Football Network. I'm John Pollard, and this is Real Football Analytics. Today we're talking about, well, the curious case of Cam Newton. Of course, the great quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, who's led his team to an 8-0 start going into Week 10 of the season. This is one of those instances when we look at the statistics and analytics traditionally for a quarterback, and Cam doesn't rank very highly in many of these things, but yet his team is still undefeated, and he is playing at a high level. In fact, there's been discussions about him being a potential MVP candidate. Let's go take a look at the numbers. Let's discuss how we evaluate quarterbacks, and let's see if we can get to the bottom of this case. So the first chart we're going to look at is Cam Newton's overall passing map through the first 9 weeks of the NFL season. Now, first off, these passing maps, this is very similar to the types of passing charts that NFL and college football teams use to map their own players' productivity and capabilities as well as their opponents. As you can see on the map, we have multiple segmentation areas. First off, we have 5 vertical segments spanning the width of the field from the left sideline to the right sideline. And in terms of pass depth, again, much like professional football teams, we categorize pass depths in 4 different ways, from behind the line of scrimmage plays, which are typically screen passes, all the way to deep balls, which we define as 21 plus yards. First thing we want to take a look at for Cam Newton, we'll start in the deep ball segment. First off, if you jump to the right-hand side, we also have an additional column that puts Cam's play in context with all of his colleagues across the NFL. What you're looking at in the right column is Cam's pass attempts and completion percentage comparatively to the average quarterback in the NFL for the first 9 weeks of the season. Again, in the deep ball passing areas, you can see deep ball passes of 21 plus yards, those are long passes certainly. The league average for completion percentages for deep balls, as you can see, is 33.8% on the far right column. Cam is a bit below that average in terms of completions. Also in terms of attempts, he's had about the average amount of attempts in that area as well. He does not have a lot of accuracy. We've looked at that, and it's been talked about a lot in terms of mechanics, or perhaps not having the strongest of receiving cores, but nevertheless, the deep ball area is not something that the Carolina Panthers, in terms of scheme, focus on, and it's certainly not an area of strength for Cam year to date. Let's jump down to the intermediate passing depth range. As you can see, the intermediate pass depth range is 11 to 20 yards. Here in this area, this is an area that we believe when we evaluate quarterbacks, this is the bread and butter area. Ultimately, the highest amount of frequency in terms of attempts may not happen here for a quarterback, but they have to be accurate and effective in this area if they're going to be successful throughout an entire season. As you can see in the far right column, Cam Newton has only completed 47% of his passes in this intermediate range. A sub 50 completion percentage is actually quite poor. The league average is at 54.9%. Again, this is an area that hopefully over time throughout the rest of the season, with improved mechanics and a scheme coming together with frequency of play, that he can be more effective in this intermediate passing range. Typically too, when we see a quarterback struggle or have lower numbers in the deep and intermediate area, we jump right down to the behind the line of scrimmage and short passing game. Perhaps this is a quarterback that just likes to play in that area. Well, actually, if we jump down the behind the line of scrimmage, Cam is actually below the average quarterback in attempts behind the line of scrimmage. As I said in the open, this is a very curious case of numbers. As you can see, his overall effectiveness and impact in these different passing areas is well below the league average in many categories, yet the team is undefeated and they're playing well under Cam. A couple of things I do want to point out that don't jump out in the map, but is in between the numbers. First off, Cam is 16th in deep ball completion percentage across the entire league. He's 28th in the league in terms of intermediate completion percentage at 54%. But interestingly enough, he does have a knack for the big play. And as of week 9, he is tied for second in the league amongst all starting quarterbacks in explosive play percentage. An explosive play we define as 20 plus yards in the air. He actually has 8 of those throughout the entire season. That places him second amongst all starters. Let's move over to his scramble chart and let's talk about the capabilities of this mobile quarterback. What we're looking at here is Cam Newton's launch point chart. As you can see, it's quite a bit different from the passing chart we just looked at. What the launch point chart shows us is where Cam Newton or any quarterback is behind the line of scrimmage after the snap. We have 5 different segments. We have the middle area, which represents all pocket pass opportunities and dropbacks. We have scramble left and scramble right. These areas represent when Cam is artificially flushed from his intended launch point by the defensive rush. And the rollout or bootleg columns, both left and right, those are plays that we identify as planned rollouts, where the quarterback, by scheme and by play call, is intended to go that way. So as you can see, first off, for a mobile quarterback, Cam Newton spends a lot of his time in the pocket. And just to give you a little bit of a comparative sense, if you look at a Tom Brady or a Carson Palmer or a Peyton Manning, they have almost every one of their opportunities are in this middle pocket section. Whereas a Russell Wilson or a Colin Kaepernick, you look, they have many more numbers in these scrambles and rollout areas because of their mobility. Again, this is a curious case with Cam Newton. Extremely mobile, we all know that. Boy, he spends a lot of time in the pocket. It's pretty interesting stuff. If we jump down to the bottom of the chart here, you can notice the rushes. Obviously, Cam is a 6'5", 260-plus pound quarterback. He represents another running back on the field that can throw the ball. He leads, as you can see, in terms of just rush numbers. In this chart, all quarterbacks, the average quarterback rush attempt is 15.7 year to date, and Cam has 56 as of this chart's printing. That's pretty incredible. We believe it's just simply the threat of Cam running that creates a lot of stress on the defense. In the meantime, that threat helps him make big plays, as we identified in the passing chart. Though we know he's not the most accurate quarterback, he does have a knack for making big plays in the air, and I think, again, because the threat of run, the defense has to honor that every single snap. Let's talk about a couple of other things that have come out from this. You know, Cam, first of all, he is 6th in the league in terms of the percentage of his offensive plays that are run from the no huddle. And we thought perhaps that scheme that he ran very much like in college when he was with Auburn helps him a lot. But we looked at the numbers. It's pretty interesting stuff. In terms of his overall yards, his rushing yards, from the no huddle, he only has 117 of his total rushing yards from the no huddle, or 33.6%. His big passing plays of 20-plus yards, only 32% of his big passing plays come from the no huddle. And his completion percentage, is it higher in no huddle? Well, actually, no. It's 51.3% in the no huddle versus 53.9% when he actually goes to the huddle. Is it the read option? He's a mobile quarterback, and Carolina is 2nd in the league in read option plays with 53 plays, and they're also 2nd in the league in terms of overall percentage of all offensive plays run out of the read option with 10%. Is it the read option action that's helping Cam? Perhaps it's a mix of both. Well, his average rush yards per play with the read option is 4.3 yards per carry. When there's no read option, he averages 5.6 yards per carry. Well, there you have it. We shared with you two charts that we always look at when we're evaluating overall quarterback play and efficiency. Now, let me ask you this. Would you believe, with all the numbers that we just discussed, that we were talking about a team that was 8-0 going into Week 10 with a quarterback? Well, there you have it. We share with you two charts we look at every single week when we're evaluating overall quarterback play and capabilities. And let me ask you this. After sharing with you all these numbers, would you believe we're talking about a team that's 8-0? Or about a quarterback that's in the discussion for the MVP of the season? Cam Newton's making incredibly great plays. Let me give you one more statistic. Cam Newton is 7th worst in the league in completion percentage against the blitz the first 9 weeks of the season, yet he's 3rd highest in the league in creating big plays of 20-plus yards in the air against the blitz. This is a quarterback that, quite frankly, could be transcending the numbers with grit, leadership, and pure athleticism. For Real Football Analytics, I'm John Pollard.